Am I the asshole for not giving my stepsister my great-grandparents' house? Very long story short, my great-grandparents died about 20 years ago. The house had to be torn down to the studs and rebuilt for biohazard reasons. For a while I, 24F, was living with my mother, 49F, in my late grandmother's house with her boyfriend, 50M, now husband, and his son, 23M. But as tension rose between me and her husband, let's call him Bob, and his son, let's call him Connor, I decided to move out and get my own apartment. I was tired of being disrespected and made out to be the villain, because his son was the perfect angel. I would still come to visit my mother often, but I would leave once either of them got home. Work finally started on the project house. Basically anything that could be done without a specialist, we did. Me, Bob, Connor, and my mom worked on this house for 5 years. There was a lot of debate regarding who would get the house, either me or Connor. They decided I would get it because I was living by myself and Connor was refusing to pay rent, which was in a contract he signed with my mom and Bob, and a few other reasons, like it's my great-grandparents' parents' house. I have been living in my mini dream house, think tiny 2-bedroom cottage, about 900 square feet, for about 4 months now. My stepsister, 26F, let's call her Ava, suddenly comes back into the picture because she will date a guy for a few months then cheat on him and live with the guy she cheated on him with. 7 or 8 times now. Her child is about 5 and has been bounced around with her. Baby daddy is stable and wants the kid but she won't let him. Recently she started calling her father, Bob, and asking to move in with him. He said no, there's no room for her and a child, let alone her horses. She cares more about her horses than her child. Fast forward a week and she calls again asking if Sunday is okay for him to come pick up the trailer. He asks her where she thinks a huge horse trailer would go, and she said, behind OP's house. He says, why don't you ask OP if you can put it behind her house? She goes quiet and says, can you ask her, she'll say no to me, like damn, you just answered your own question. So Bob ends up laughing and saying, well I think she hates me more than you, so good luck on that. Another week goes by and she throws another fit this time demanding the house. Because, why should OP get to live in a nice 2-bedroom house when she doesn't have any kids or even a boyfriend? Now her mom, Bob's ex, is taking Ava's side and yelling at Bob to give Ava the house. Bob ends up getting into a fight with my mom about it because it really doesn't seem fair. Mind you, I am the only child who has had to work for everything. The house is the only thing I ever got handed to me, and I helped pay for most of it because it was what I wanted. They get whatever they want when they want. Except the house. So am I the asshole for putting my foot down and telling my stepsister she cannot kick me out of my house? Comments from netizens. Comment 1. Who actually owns the house? If your mom owns it, will there be any restrictions on who it could be passed down to? Do you have a rental contract? Need more info. Replay from OP. It was given to my mother in the will, but my stepfather had to be added to the deed in order to get a mortgage on it so it could be rebuilt. Originally the house was supposed to go to me in the will, but my grandmother was diagnosed with late-stage brain cancer when I was 16, so she changed it to go to my mother instead because I wouldn't be ready to own a house let alone have the money to rebuild one at 17 when she passed. It wasn't written in the will, but my grandmother made it clear that eventually she wanted me to have the house. There's no written rental agreement, but a verbal agreement. I pay X amount per month plus utilities, they handle landscaping, and we all handle anything that could break. Edit. Meant to say added to the deed and not just added, as into the will. He met my mother only a few months before my grandmother passed, so there's no way she would have put him in the will. Replay 1. Hi OP, adding your stepfather to the title deed makes him part owner of the property. If he dies, he can leave his share to his children in his will. If your mum dies without a will before your stepfather may be entitled to part of her share, depending on the intestacy law. If you are paying rent to your stepfather, who in turn takes the rent you pay to pay off the mortgage, where I live, he can say he has contributed and is entitled to his share of the property. Optimally, you should try to take over the mortgage, get your stepfather off the title deeds, and if there is no tax impact for your mother to transfer the title deeds to you. You should consult a lawyer because the danger is you could lose your great-grandparents' property that your grandmother intended for you to inherit. Comment 2. You need to talk with your mother and get yourself on the deed. You are the descendant of the owners and you have the sweat equity in this house. Do not have one of your mom or a Bob die and now you have an inheritance issue. Get this legalized and normalized ASAP. Comment 3. I'm surprised it's even gotten to the point of, I am the only child who has had to work for everything, the house is the only thing I ever got handed to me, and I helped pay for most of it because it was what I wanted. They get whatever they want when they want. How does anyone think Ava has a priority claim to this house? It was not left to her, she did not work on it. The literal claim is that she wants it. That's it. Tell Ava I demand to know why she should have a horse when I don't. It's not fair. Tell her to bring me her horse right now. Comment 4. OP speaks with a lawyer. If your mom and stepdad are on the deed, it's possible that the house will not form part of the estate when one of them passes. Instead, the house will go to the alive person. So what happens if Bob outlives your mother, gets the house and doesn't have you in the will because you two don't speak? I'll tell you what. Connor and Ava are getting the house. You will have spent your whole life paying rent and maintaining a house that you don't end up owning. Let's say that you don't buy any property because you are counting on having this house. You missed out on a lifetime of building equity in the property market. So basically the steps could kick you out and then you would find yourself homeless at 60 with not enough money to buy a house and too old to get a bank loan. Comment 5. Wait, so this isn't your house, it was left to your mom and also had your stepdad added to the deed, but you believe it should have been left to you because your grandma once said, when you were young, she wanted to leave it to you? This is a shitty situation. Replay from OP. The house was going to go to me originally, as in it was in the will, but my grandmother realized she wasn't going to live as long as she thought. She was only 66 when she died, so she changed it when she got diagnosed, because she didn't want to burden me. And I am the only other living relative other than my mother.